conversation with a man at a coffee shop the other day, and he said to me halfway through his own speech, you know, I think I know who I am. And I said to him, do you? And he said, I think I do. I said, tell me then. And then he smiled at me and he said, I guess that means I probably don't. I said, tell me who you are if you think you know. And then he proceeded to describe himself in terms of his appearance and what he does. At which point I smiled at him and I said, I think you can do better. Go think about it and let me know what you come up with next. A lot of people sort of sit with this question of, who am I? What am I here? What is the purpose of my life? And it's a question I was once fixated on a few years ago. Now I'm going to give away the show here. Many spiritual practices, especially from the Far East, or that have been influenced by the cultures of the Far East, like Hinduism, Taoism, Buddhism, will tell those individuals who would like to know the answer to this question that one would think is obvious, who am I? I'll tell individuals that they should meditate and, apply themselves to the various practices and methodologies that those cultures, or I don't like to call them religions. Alan Watts calls them ways of liberation. I think that's better. That those ways of liberation provide, whether it's the Eightfold Path or it's the 8 limbs of yoga, so on and so forth, right? And what those teachings really serve to do is to help individuals that feel like isolated entities in a foreign environment feel like the whole damn show. It takes you from feeling like a separate consciousness to being all that is. And in that sensation of feeling like you're all that is, you no longer feel out of place. And the answer may present itself then, the answer to the question, who am I, may present itself then as either I am no one, if you go the Buddhist route, because you become no one. There's nowhere to stand. There's quite literally no ground below your feet anymore. The second you are everything that is, there's no relative other, and you disappear, you become void. Now please don't take me too literally. You don't literally disappear, although if you really meditate, and this has happened to me, you may just disappear for a second. You may have this experience where you approach the void, you feel yourself become all that is, and then you are nothing. And it's a very difficult thing to describe, and then from that nothing you begin to re-emerge. And suddenly you're able to answer the question of, who am I? With the answers you may have initially given, which may have been your appearance and what you do. And you will be satisfied in giving that answer because you know that that is as true as the fact as it is not. It is and it is not. And these traditions will often walk you through paradoxical teachings and have you scratching your head and being like, what is this nonsense? How can I be and not be? How can it is and not is, until you have that breakthrough moment. And you're like, oh, I am all that is. And so long as I am all that is, there's no relative other, and so I'm nothing at all. And yet all that is all of this. And so the nothing is everything, and everything is nothing. And so you see that the emptiness is so full. And this is why Buddhism is not nihilism. Initially, when I started working with Buddhism, I never could really wrap my mind around true nothing. What does nothing mean? We can't even conceive the idea of nothing. Even nothing is something, right? That's the thing. But as I really worked with the Buddhist teachings, I began to, if you will, pierce the void and realized that, nothingness is fullness. So the thing is, this is not something that you can intellectualize. So I've just told you now that the answer to the question is, I am that I am, tattvamasi. Right, so give up the definitions and the symbolizations and all the concepts of what all of this is. Let's call it information. It is what it is. It's that it is. Okay. Now we can symbolize in whatever way we mean, and by symbolize I mean assign names to forms, right? So we can call this a water bottle, and that's just a concept. We assigned a sound to an object so that we can communicate. And that doesn't mean it's not a water bottle because we named it water bottle, so it's water bottle now, right? No, but we could have easily named it shoelace, although that name is serving another purpose. So we don't, right? So that we can communicate. All right, let's not get too into the weeds with that. The point is, we could just call everything that is information, and that would still be symbolizing in some sense, but I've stripped it down almost completely, right? And then from there, we can see that we assign meaning to things so that we can work with it, right? We assign names and we assign uses and all of that. Right, this could easily be a hat. It wouldn't be the most comfortable hat, but it would be a hat. And you'll find this kind of thing show up in Zen koans all the time, where a master will ask a question and no typical answer to the question will be accepted. And then some monk will put a water bottle on his head and the master will be like, he's got it. This man has got it. Because at the end of the day, this could be a hat. There's no reason it couldn't be a hat. It's just that it wouldn't be a very good hat. So we wouldn't use it as a hat, right? And we could have as easily have named it hat. We just so happens that we didn't. Instead we named it water bottle. But we could have. And so the thing is, we tend to start believing in the symbols that we've assigned to things rather than seeing them for what they are, right? And then we do this to ourselves. So we say that I am such and such and such and such, and we identify with the symbol, right? Rather than seeing ourselves for what we are, which is just an aspect of nature. Okay, but that doesn't mean now you're no longer, say, Emerald Salter. That means that Emerald Salter is an aspect of nature. So I haven't disappeared, okay? I haven't melted into all that is. I'm clearly still here. But I recognize that I am an expression of a whole. And so my experience of self doesn't feel isolated. I don't carry an unnecessary amount of fear with me into my daily experience. I am at peace, even when I'm scared, or when I'm hurt, or when I'm grieving. I'm like, there's a layer under that remains consistent, right? It's like grief is a wind that blows, and I'm a flame, and my flame doesn't go out when it blows, but it does blow a little bit with the wind. I still experience the grief, but grief comes and it goes, and I know that. I don't resist the grief. I get with the grief, because grief is a natural experience, and we're human, and the point is not to not be human. Human is an aspect of nature. The point is to realize that you are an aspect of nature, you're the entire thing, and so long as you're the entire thing, then that means that this thing, it's not a thing, but we'll say thing, language is limiting, so bear with me here. This thing, nature, is interconnected and interrelated, and in the system there truly can't be any individuals, because there's just a web of life, right? You picture a spider web, and every node on the spider web is connected. But the thing is, because of the way we experience life, you wouldn't be so quick to say that I am connected to this water bottle. But in retrospect, this could be thought of as just vibration. And I could be thought of as just vibration. And the way I'm vibrating relative to the way this water bottle is vibrating makes it, possible for me to pick it up and drink it. And that's just because we're vibrating a little differently. Okay, that was a very, 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 very simplistic explanation of that. I'm not going to get too into that right now. The point I sort of want to get at is that you can go ahead and you can listen to all the modern day New Age spiritualists, and you can read the ancient texts, which I recommend you do. You can do all of that, and you can intellectualize that I am everything that is. But until you truly feel it, your experience of yourself will not shift significantly. It will start. It's a stepping stone. I'm just saying that you need to go beyond intellectualizing the idea, and you need to come into being the idea. Now, how do you do that? If you're like me, you just go at it from a bunch of different angles. And the common teaching nowadays is don't try, and that gets you to try, and that's helpful. For one, meditation is the number one way in, but spending time in nature, absence of judgment, absence of symbolization, is another way in. There are a few ways in. Sometimes the ways in are presented to you. They find you rather than you looking for them. Grief is a way in. Heartbreak is a way in. Fear is a way in. Or facing the idea of death is a way in. Like being told you have a few months to live. These things come about in different ways. Now, the point I made with this water bottle and the use of, say, koans that show you to go beyond concepts is that in the beginning of this little rant I did not plan to go on, I said that my friend identified with his appearance and what he does. And I'm not saying that that's entirely wrong. I'm just saying that that's all he thinks he is. All he thought he was is a middle-aged African man who is good at giving people relationship advice. And when I looked at him, I saw God. I saw myself. I saw the whole universe. I saw perfection. I saw him, and he didn't see himself. And I couldn't help but smile at him, because he couldn't see how perfect he is. You know, he was really caught up in, who am I? And the thing is, he would still be a middle-aged African man who's great at giving relationship advice after he had come to see his utter perfection the way I've come to see his perfection. And that's the thing. That's the middle way. Both are true. The high vantage point and the lower vantage point. The higher vantage point is the third eye, if you will. It's the eye that brings together both views and can see that the whole is made up of all these little parts. And, you know, like the white light is passed through a prism, splits into a rainbow. We're that rainbow, but we're also that white light, and both are true. It just depends how you look at it. And when you see that, you can be a part of the rainbow, say a blue wavelength, or a red one, or purple one, or whatever, you know, whatever you are in the great bittersweet symphony. But you also know yourself to be the white light itself, the whole thing. And that's where these traditions that's the psychological position, shall I say, that these traditions and their methodologies try to move you toward. Now, I think many people have experienced some kind of breakthrough like this in this modern age, but a lot of people haven't. And I spoke to my grandfather shortly after speaking to my new friend, and I asked him, "Who are you?" And he was very blunt. My grandfather does not have time for this kind of thing. And he looked at me because he was apprehensive. He was worried about where the simple question, "Who are you?" may go. And so he answered with his name and his surname. And then I said, "Is that all?" And he said, you know, his gender and his age. And I said, "Is that all?" And he said, "Okay." And, you know, his relationships with other people. So he at least didn't jump straight to his job. Okay, maybe it's because he's retired. And I said, "Is that all?" And then he started listing the jobs he had. And so first he was his name, and then he was his age, and then he was where he lived, and then he was the people he's loved and interacted with. So he's a father, and he was a husband and all of that, and he's my grandfather and all of that. And then he was the jobs he had, but nowhere in there did he express something beyond what he has done or been told he is throughout his life. A man with such and such relation to other people, with such and such job and all of that. And he is those things. He is, okay. But he's also more than just that. And he doesn't see that, right? And the consequence of that is that to him, everything is other. It's them. And then it's us. And it's them, and it's us. Whereas for me, I can step onto a field and say, we're going to play soccer, and I'll see the other team, and yes, I do want to win because I have quite a competitive nature. And I will see a really great game about to play out, and yes, there's them and there's us, and we're going to play. But at the end of the day, there's just that. And that is that. And so, although I'll go into it and I'll really give my all to the game, I'm not carrying this true underlying seriousness that he is. You know, the kind of seriousness that polarizes people and starts wars, or causes gross inequities and inequalities in society. This us and them mindset. There's only that thou art, and we're all that, as much as we're all of us. When you're able to see that, you're able to take social action if you feel called to. You're able to navigate relationships. You're able to do business and enter the workspace and, be a sportsman and all of that. With this state of being, the psychological position that is so liberating, because although you still play the part that is demanded from you in the given moment, right, to the best of your abilities. I got a bit of a wrong view for that, so if that part didn't resonate with you, know that I got a wrong view for it, just the way I phrased things, I suppose. I'm a clairvoyant, so the Lord, my connection to the Lord, showed me, no, that was not the best way to say that. I'm going to try again, since I was shown no. The point I would like to make is that you can take action no matter what the action is. But from this position of feeling like you are the whole play, even though you're a player in it. And that really shifts the way you take action, the way you think about yourself and the way you think about others. And I would argue that a world filled with people with that kind of psychology is a world in a much more harmonious state of being collectively. And so the view we have of ourselves and the worldviews we form, they impact us psychologically, and a collective psychology is our sociology. And well, that sets the paradigm, the culture in which we live. And at this point in history, I think we're not even really scratching the surface with an experience of ourselves that is conducive to a collective experience that is more harmonious and more cooperative rather than competitive. Good competition is still part of cooperation, okay? So don't misconstrue what I'm saying. So I guess that brings me all the way back to where I started in the beginning. Who are you? If you answer that you're all that, just because you intellectualized it, then I would encourage you to really think on it longer. Why just go with something some person on the internet told you, or some individual in a book wrote down? Find out for yourself. Are you everything that is? Is this idea the correct idea? Find out for yourself. Don't just go with it, because then I guess you may just miss the point. And if you're somebody who feels that they have had this feeling that, oh, okay, I am all that is, I am that I am, so if I'm asked you, then let me know in the comment section. Let me know what your experience with coming to feel that you're everything that is was like, and how that's affected your life, and how you felt before that. Because I know that, I'd say most of the world is not raised in a culture that thinks that way. And if you were raised in a culture that thinks that way, please indulge me in the comment section. I would love to hear more. This is my second video. I don't know how to end it. I'll be completely honest with you. But much love to all of you. I'll work on the ending. Maybe drop some comments. Tell me how. Give me some ideas. How shall I end these videos? Yeah, and I'm a bit of a goofy, awkward individual, so I'm gonna leave it right here. Until next time, much love.